Good morning, friends, and thank you yet again for joining us for this installment of First Presbyterian Church's virtual service. Why don't we prepare with our call to worship? Bless God, all people. Let the sound of God's praise be heard. Even though we have been tested by fire and led through the raging waters, Christ is risen. Now, in today's reading from the book of Acts, we learn about Paul visiting Athens. And while he's in Athens, he notices plenty of statues or idols, and he finds one that is called to the unknown God. Well, what happens is Paul begins to voice his displeasure at what he sees as the worship of many idols. And because he voices his displeasure in this bustling city, he is taken to trial. Now, he is taken to a place that Scripture describes as the Areopagus. Now, literally, that is the hill of Ares. Now, Ares was the Greek god of war, and Pagus means hill or rock. And if you could see or have ever visited the Areopagus, it is a big rock. Now, while he's there, he tells them all about their idol worship. But before we get to that, why don't we travel to Athens? Let's go to the Areopagus together. Hang tight. Here we go.
Welcome aboard First Presbyterian Church Virtual Airlines. Before we take off, please ensure that your seatbelt is properly fastened. Also, make sure that your seat back is in the upright position and your tray table is locked. And finally, be aware of your emergency exits, whatever they may be. Now relax and enjoy the virtual flight.
We are going to fly from Texas all the way to Greece. You see Greece here on the map. We zoom in, and for a frame of reference, there's Italy. And if we zoom in and we keep zooming in, you can see the Parthenon there, right in the middle of the screen. And when you visit the Parthenon, this is pretty much what you're going to see. Remnants of that beautiful, beautiful temple to Athena. Now, as you stand at the entrance to the Parthenon, you can look out over remnants of the ancient city as well as the modern day city. You can see the walkways, all of the visitors that have come here, visitors, current, and visitors like Paul from our reading today. And if you walk in to the Parthenon, you can see that temple to Athena, and you can see remnants of other buildings, statues, or as Paul described them, idols. Now, if you want to go from the Parthenon and walk to the Areopagus, where Paul was led for his trial, then this is the path you would take. And as you walk along, you can take in the sights like this theater that's right next to the Parthenon. And you can walk along the walkway that millions of feet have traveled, including Paul. It's a relatively short walk, but eventually, if you follow that path, you will come upon the Areopagus. It's also known as Mars Hill. You can walk up the Areopagus and you can stand atop, just like Paul did when he was on trial. And if you look out, you can see the modern day city on one side. And you can see the Parthenon looking down on the Areopagus. This is where Paul spoke to the people So Paul begins to tell the people about their idol worship. Now, because he's on trial, he cannot proselytize. Paul cannot push any religion. That would have ended his trial immediately. Instead, Paul does a brilliant thing. He uses philosophy. It's something the Greek respect. He uses philosophy to explain to them that their unknown God is the God Paul worships. It's a big step for us as Christians because it's the beginning of understanding Christology, the relationship, God and Jesus and the Spirit, and really our relationship with God. Paul is empathetic with the people. See, he doesn't bash them over the head, telling them that they're wrong. Instead, he has empathy. He understands they are a different culture. He understands that they're doing things differently. And instead of looking down on them, instead of making them feel less than, he shows empathy. He shows them that he cares enough to explain to them what he believes using their own culture. He even quotes Greek poets, letting them know we are all children. We're all related. It's a wonderful moment because understanding that the greater good of the community can be served by being empathetic, he gets his point across. When he's done, he's not punished. He walks away. And guess what? People follow him. People come to believe. People want to know more. Empathy. You know, that's not something we today are very good about. And in a time of crisis, it magnifies sometimes our lack of empathy. You know, right now, we have to be cautious, not only to protect ourselves, but to protect others from ourselves. And one of the best ways to do that, we're being told, is to wear one of these. An inconvenience, sure, but what better way to show empathy for your community than making sure you do this to protect yourself and others? And I know it's a very stressful time. When we're dealing with the stresses of lack of income, lack of an ability to visit with family and friends. It is stressful. And it does heighten our senses. But we have to be empathetic. We have to work for the good of the community. That's who we are, right? You know, Laura and I were watching a children's movie the other day, and there's a portion of it, it's a song, where a character is singing to his pet reindeer. And the reindeer's name is Sven. Anyway, they're together in a barn, and the character starts singing to the reindeer, and he sings for the reindeer, but he's trying to get you know what, I'm not doing a good job. Let me try to recreate it for you. Reindeers are better than people. Sven, don't you think that's true?
Yeah, people will beat you and curse you and cheat you. Everyone's bad except you.
Oh, thanks, buddy. So Sven, he tells us, you know, people will beat you, curse you, and cheat you. Every one of them's bad. Is that true? I know we're not all bad. And I know that we want to do what's right for our community. We need to remember Empathy is a powerful tool in showing mercy and kindness and love. You know, we're stuck in our homes for the most part, or we're stuck in our vehicles on the way to work when we have to go. Think about empathy and think about showing others, by example, that we care about each other. Well, if I could, you know I would stand on the rock where Moses stood. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Mary wore 3 weeks on a chin. Everything had Jesus' name. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Take it. Well, Moses stood on the Red Sea shore. He smote that water with a 2x4, and Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Well, Mr. Satan, now he got mad. He lost that soul that he thought he had. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you Now, brothers and sisters, don't you cry. There'll be good times by and by. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. If you want to see the rest of that song, it's at the end of this service. Thank you yet again for being vigilant, for joining us today for our virtual message. Be strong. Reach out to one another. For now, I offer each one of you the peace of Christ. I hope to hear from all of you today. God bless you, and take with you the love of God, the peace of Christ, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit. Till we meet again. Reindeers are better than people. Sven, don't you think that's true?
Yeah, people will beat you and curse you and
Thanks, buddy.
But people smell better than reindeer. Sven, don't you think I'm right?
That's once again true for all except you.
You got me. Let's call it a night.
Good night.